Are you looking for some great methods to find some tasty loot on the new Ragnarok map? Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll be showcasing the top 8 best loot and blueprint farms on the map. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. In at number 8 is going to be the tiny treasure chests. You can find one in Viking Bay, next to the shipwreck in the shallow water. You do have to be level 80 to open these. Plenty of those nasty stingy sea scorpions will be in the area, so you will need a means of dealing with those, unless you want to go for a cheeky nap attack. The chest is located at around 22.1 latitude, 33.6 longitude. It does also spawn in a few other locations around this shipwreck, but the spots are all really close together, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find once you get here. These crates only tend to drop one item, but the loot is typically very high quality. I have found a few Ascendant fabricated sniper rifles in these, so they are worth checking out if you're in the area. And yes, they do also drop gas masks, which is a very rare blueprint to find in this game, believe it or not. A second chest is rumored to spawn away from the shipwreck. I have never personally found this one myself. I'm just going off of what other people have said, as I'm pretty sure they did remove this spawn from ASE. But if you're in the area, it can potentially be located at 33.4 latitude, 36.4 longitude, in a small cave in the snow biome above Viking Bay. I've probably looked at this location 30 times and it's never been there. However, the Viking Bay shipwreck chest does tend to respawn every 45 minutes, so it's always going to be worth checking it out. In at number 7 is of course going to be land beacons, by far the easiest source of loot for all players, and you can still find a lot of good items from these, especially the higher tiers like purple, yellow and red, so they are always worth going for whenever you see one. Moving on to number 6 is the Desert Drops. Used to be one of the best open world crate farms in the game back in ASE. However, in ASA, the loot of these and deep sea loot crates is nowhere near as good as it used to be, which is why it's so far down on the list. You can still, however, find some decent loot. You can find flak armor, pump action shotties, and a variety of other weapons, saddles, and armor. There are 5 locations in total, found at 79.7 latitude, 51.9 longitude, 83.9 latitude, 77 longitude, 70.4 latitude, 76.5 longitude, 63.2 latitude, 78.1 longitude, and the final crate located at 59.7 latitude, 76.5 longitude. All in close proximity to one another, but only 4 crates will spawn at a time, so they are really quick to run and you'll have a good chance of finding a crate or 4 depending on how busy the server is. And the crates will roughly take around 45 minutes to respawn. In at number 5 is the Wyvern Cave in the south, another spot where you can find what I believe to be 3 open world red and yellow cave crates spawning in close proximity to one another. The cave entrance is located roughly around 69.8 latitude, 42 longitude, right at the base of the giant rocky cliff formation at water level. Here's the coordinates of the crates I've found so far. Most crates do spawn in relatively easy to spot locations, however there is this one location in the water which is a bit of a mission to find. Seems there is a couple of megs spawning down here, so you gotta be wary of that. And from my experience, these crates do drop very good loot. Of course, the main danger here is the wyverns flying around, which you'll most likely not be able to avoid. I like to use the griffin to pick up these crates quickly, but you may have to bait them away from the crates or kill them off if possible. Definitely a lot more riskier than the desert crates, and could be quite challenging for newer players, but if you can prevail, you will be rewarded much better for your efforts. In at number 4 is treasure chests, which is a paid feature that is included in the Bob's Tall Tales DLC pack, so you will need to own that to be able to use a treasure map. These chests work just like any other loot crate in the game, requiring your survivor to be a certain level to open each. So for example, if you find an Ascendant treasure map, you can still dig up the chest, but you won't be able to open it. So do bear this in mind before you hunt down your treasure, as the chest will despawn after a certain amount of time after being dug up. Firstly, you'll need to craft up your trusty shovel, which is cheap to make and can be crafted in a smithy. To find maps, you need to kill certain carnivores. There's not really any good way to farm these maps, but there is potential to find them from Rexes, Raptors, Deathworms, Scorpions, Aranio, Mantis, Titanoboa, etc, etc. So running caves can be a good option to find these, but I find the Argentavis is the most common spawn on the map, and I've had the best luck when killing them. Once you have yourself a map, it will have a 48-hour spoil timer, which gives you plenty of time to use it. Once inside your inventory, after pressing the use button, you'll see a red waypoint on screen. Once you equip your shovel, it will turn blue, and once in close proximity, it will turn green, meaning you are in range to dig up your treasure, and voila, tasty and easy loot. These chests can drop some of the best high quality loot in the game, and it seems to be massively over cap, at least for me. You can find random structures, consumables, armor, weapons, saddles, pretty much anything. Even primitive maps are worth digging up. The maps are quite rare though, so I usually don't go out of my way to find them. I usually let them come to me instead. In at number 3 is the Jungle Dungeon. Quite a challenging cave, which is why it doesn't make it up higher on the list. Dangers in this cave include cave creatures like the Aranio, Scorpion, Titanoboa, Arthropleura, and bats. Risk of falling into lava, very hot temperatures, and the lava golem boss. Additional equipment I recommend bringing would be flak armor, and maybe a spare set, pump action shotty with a stack of ammo, a crossbow, and 20 to 30 grappling hooks, or more if you can carry it. You probably won't need that many, but I always find it's better to be safe than sorry. Having a few parachutes can also be helpful, but not really a necessity. A filled canteen or two, a nice stack of med brews, and let's say you are planning to fight the lava golem with rockets. If my calculations are correct, you'll need around 260 rockets and 13 launchers, which is accounting for a few misses too, and assuming you're hitting it for 250 damage a hit per shot, which is ridiculous. You can hit it for more than 250 damage when firing at its feet, but it is very difficult to find the angle, but it can be easily killed if you do have access to a tech rifle with around 10 element, which is a far better option when using weaponry. However, if you own a pyromane, you won't need any of that. Overpowered pay to win. And there is no denying that there is no better creature option to pick for running this cave. And if for some reason you don't have one, then I would probably run this cave on foot for the most part and bring the rockets or tech gun if I planned on fighting the golem. The cave has around 3 entrances that lead into the first section, but I'll show off my go-to and preferred entrance. The cave entrance is located at 18.6 latitude, 27.8 longitude. The cave is split into 3 sections. Entering through this entrance will see you tiptoeing your way past a load of pressure plates on the floor, so watch your step. Avoid you'll trip the booby trap, and you may get love tapped a few times with a volley of trank arrows. Following the path will lead you into a series of mazy dark tunnels and rooms filled with those typical cave creatures. But if you took this entrance, it's easier to navigate by jumping over the gaps and sticking to the high ground, as you can pretty much just follow it straight through, which is where you will inevitably need to grapple up to anyway. You will need to jump down to pick up a couple of loot crates, and so far it seems that only green and blue crates spawn in this section. Once crouching up to the crouch walkway will lead you onto the next section of the cave, where you will be met with the broken bridges of death, stationed above a giant pool of boiling hot lava. And I can assure you, you won't be wanting to take a dip in there. This is where your crossbow and grappling hooks become your best friend, and the parachutes can help if you are not too confident with slinging yourself around like Spider-Man. Do be careful where you sling yourself, as this is where you will encounter a lot of onyx. Back in ASE, you could find 4 or 5 yellow and red loot crates in here, but it seems I can only find 2 spawning at a time in ASA. Moving down the steps leads you to the artifact, where you can either tuck your tail in between your legs and leave, or you can stick around to fight the lava golem, where you will need to grapple up to a ledge and harvest the crystal to head in. If using the pyromane, you can stand on a ledge and just eat it, and the fire damage will drain its health ridiculously quickly. One important thing to note is that your pyromane will take full damage from the lava and will quickly roast to death, which is probably not intentional, but just thought I'd better mention it in case you do go for a dip. So it is the cheapest method by far. Grappling up to safety of the high ground, where you can quickly kill it with the tech rifle, and of course the painful rocket strat. I did find that it takes almost no damage when shooting directly at it. However, if you can find the sweet spot right in between its legs and shooting it down by its feet will deal quite a lot of splash damage, which is practically impossible to hit a perfect shot when playing solo, but could work much better with 2 players, where one player can pull aggro and the other shoots at his feet. And once defeated, 4 red loot crates will spawn in the arena, which drop high quality loot of course. In ARK Survival Evolved, you used to be able to access the golem's inventory to find a ton of loot and blueprints, which doesn't seem to be a thing in ASA, which is a bit of a shame, so I'm hoping that gets changed back to its roots, as without it, this cave isn't half as rewarding as it deserves to be. In at number 2 is none other than the Frozen Dungeon, my favourite cave in the game for farming loot. The cave has 2 entrances that lead you into the main entrance inside. The first entrance can be flown into, which is located at 31 latitude, 37.8 longitude. Back in ASE, I believe this entrance would kick the rider off when flown into. However, as of now, it does seem to allow you to fly into this entrance when playing a server that disables cave flying, which is pretty nice. The second entrance is located within this waterfall, which is found in the Frozen Bear Cave, located at 31.3 latitude, 33.7 longitude. This is the best entrance for me, as you can enter with a wide variety of small to medium land creatures. Dangers in this cave include extremely cold temperatures, high level dire bears spawning up to level 300, ice worms, and of course the Ice Worm Queen mini boss. And additional equipment I would recommend bringing on top of your standard gear would be a full set of fur armor to keep you warm and snug, a pump action shotty with a good stack of ammo, med brews to heal yourself, and you will will also need a pickaxe to harvest the crystal blocking one of the loot crate spawns. A metal shield or riot shield can come in handy if for some reason you're on a mad one and are running this one on foot. Once again, the pyromane is by far the best creature you can take into this cave, as the cave entrance is too small to fit any ridden land creatures. However, if you do play PvE and can use cryopods freely, then the Phylocolio or the Baryonyx are great picks too. The cave is split into 3 sections. The 2 entrances will lead you into the first giant room, where you will find a nice selection of 5 blue and yellow crates. You can visit this section without having to enter the main cave if you want to, for some quick and easy loot. All crates are very close together and are easily spotted when using a flyer, or can easily be navigated to and from on foot also. The only dangers here in this first section are the high level dire bears, but they do have a very small aggro range, so you should be able to easily avoid them. After moving past the main crouched entrance of the cave, you move on to the second section, where you will come across 2 paths that fork out. You want to take the path on the left so you can run the full cave and find all the loot crates within. And if you have one, this will be a good spot to throw out your Phyla too, as it will have full access to the cave beyond this point. Through this section, you'll find up to around 3 red and yellow loot crates spawning per time. Back in ASA, you used to be able to find 5. Sad face, but 3 is still pretty decent. You will constantly encounter ice worms that spring out of the ground at every turn. They hit pretty hard, but do only have a small amount of health, so they aren't too big of a threat. Further into the cave, you will come across another 2 paths that fork out. The path on the left will lead you directly to the final loot crate and the Iceworm Queen's arena, and the right to more loot crates, so it's important to take the right path first to double back on yourself. After grabbing all those loot crates, you will drop down the giant waterfall into the Iceworm Queen arena. There is an invisible wall here, so you will have to cryo your tame and throw it back out, unless you have a pyromane, which you can just stick on your shoulder and remount. Iceworm Queen is an easy boss when sat upon your tame of choice. You can shoot it down with a good shotgun, or kill it with your tamed creatures. Once slain, another 4 red loot crates will spawn in the arena, and these tend to drop very high quality loot. So there's plenty of loot to be had here, and it is a relatively easy cave to run once you know what you're doing. Well, it does pain for me to stick a paid creature in at the number 1 spot, but it is what it is, I guess. This is the new Drakeling, which is included after purchasing the Lost Colony DLC Early Access Expansion Pass. Anyway, the Drakeling has a unique function that when it is perched on your shoulder while you kill creatures with your player, or while riding a creature, it gains its own unique type of XP over time, capping out at 30k, and once you reach that amount of experience, you're ready to gobble up some tasty loot. And if you haven't done already, drag your Drakeling's attack option onto your hotbar, and when positioned on your hand, you could switch the mode to stored XP by pressing the reload button, for example R on PC or X on Xbox. After doing so, you can press the alternate attack key, and it will give all that XP to the creature, and also give you a new item inside your inventory known as a Dragon Horde key. You can then use it from your inventory, where a blue waypoint will now be visible on screen. Head into the waypoint, and when in range, it will turn green, and a treasure chest will pop out of the ground, which rewards you with an absurd amount of high quality loot. It really is a loot goblin's dream, and they're super cute too. Oh, look at that cute little face. And that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing for more, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.